we get so tied up in what the thought leadership community is doing, and then pretty soon you forget your own voice and your own thoughts. And that comes from just relaxing and like appreciating what all these people are putting out, but not repeating their words over and over again, but finding your own again. And
that's Mary Williams of Sasquatch Media Grounds.
Hi, Rick. Thanks for having me. I'm Mary, and I run Sasquatch Media Grounds up in downtown Vancouver, Washington. I've been an online content creator. We were talking about that just a minute ago before we hit record. We are old dinosaur dogs in this. I started blogging seriously in 2010. I dabbled in it a little bit before then too, but the golden age of blogging, I made money in my side hustle of blogging, and it started turning into a business. So fast forward all these years later, and I exited coaching business owners after COVID really cleared out, because they kept asking to concentrate on help with their content creation. And long story short, I ended up getting keys to this brick and mortar in July of last year. And here we are. So I'm recording from my studio today with you, and very excited to talk with you.
And you've kind of covered it a little, but like, can you go into a little more detail on just like the inspiration opportunity that caused you to make this leap this time around?
Part of it was just realizing that the coaching industry was about to go through a real moment, which I think is very needed. And I'm all here for it. And also was burnt out from running a mastermind program. It's very exhausting. But during that time, I missed creating content because I am a content creator at heart. And so people have been asking me for a podcast for years. I've been helping people produce theirs behind the scenes for a long time, but I didn't want to create any slop or just have noise for noise sake. So I finally figured out what I wanted to do, and I'm about to start recording season 3 for it. And basically, I invite entrepreneurs to come in and talk about business through water cooler chat, TV shows, movies, and so forth. And because I had spent so much time with my clients in our mastermind space, helping them triage post-production problems, bad video, bad audio, all the usual things from doing remote recordings, I said, for me, I want to test it out and see what happens when I require everybody to record in person with me, so that we can see the whites of our eyes across the table. And I batched people per city. And the one city that I could not find a creator economy studio was here. So so there are studios in co-working spaces. There are studios in people's banging she sheds in their backyards. And there are studios all over town. But I used to work in entertainment in the movie business in LA. And I just had kind of always thought that, of course, there are studios around. And I discovered that there really wasn't a studio here. So my sound engineer luckily had a mobile recording studio, and we rented out a co-working space, meeting room, and I got everybody from this Pacific Northwest region recorded. But then I promptly went down to LA, easy peasy booking. I even went to the south of France. I went to Nice, France, and recorded 2 people on the French Riviera and found a studio there, and was kind of right in here. Yeah.
I'm gonna. That's awesome. I totally agree. There needs to be more studio space. I think, there are challenges to this kind of content. Like each time you add another person to the mix, it becomes more challenging, exponentially more challenging. And so like having resources at our disposal that we can use on a consistent basis for that kind of thing is hugely valuable to the community. So thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kind of shifting gears a little bit, and I'll put a little finer point on this, just given your area of expertise. I often hear from startup founders, part of the reason we're talking is they're like, I know I should be developing content. I just don't have time to do it, or I can't carve out the time to do it. So from your perspective, given your area of expertise, like what's one piece of advice you would give to a startup founder who's kind of shouldering that guilt about, I know I need to create content, but how do I get started?
I am such a huge proponent. I swear to Jesus, I'm going to die on this hill, Rick. I'm trying to get everyone to slow the F down and Just nobody is first to market anymore. And first, you have to get that out of your mindset because it gets drilled into you. You see other people doing really cool things and you're like, oh no, I'm late. And my message to them as a producer is like, no, you're not late. Creativity arrives on time when it's meant to arrive. You can't push it. And so to slow down and really focus on pre-production, it's one of the top things I do with my clients, have been doing with them all this time. And now it's like the primary focus that I put on the studio here, which is we don't rush. We do quality over quantity, and we take our time in pre-production because that's where you figure out, well, what is the system? You know, my mastermind was I was a systems coach, and it was, how do we figure out how to do things consistently and sustainably without burning out? And you have to figure that out for your production too. So just because you see someone else publishing weekly doesn't mean you have to have a weekly show. It doesn't mean that you have to just publish in perpetuity. Everybody at this point needs breaks. And after working behind the scenes in so many other people's much larger brands, I can tell you that I can recognize the signs when somebody has a lot of help behind the scenes or when they're doing it themselves. But I think the average creator who hasn't had that experience doesn't know. So it can be easy to think that you have to somehow burn yourself out or push yourself to do things on a timetable. It just doesn't work. And until it becomes a regular habit, just like you get used to going to the gym or brushing your teeth every day, you know, you have to figure out how to weave it into your life. And that requires reps on a regular basis. And sometimes you'll wobble, but over time you get better and better and better at it. And so, you know, take your time.
Yeah, I love that advice. I mean, I consistently try and remind people that I only have time to do what I do on this kind of thing because it became a habit like early on. And, you know, even the newer kind of like video-based podcast kind of stuff has, you know, you have to make that a habit as well and carve out the time to do it. But I also appreciate the viewpoint that, like, I think so many of us grew up in a media environment where things occurred consistently and repeatedly, and we've just fallen prey to that framework because that's what we've grown up with. But I really appreciate you pointing out that, like, look, put out good content every once in a while, and that's going to perform better than sticking to a schedule.
100%. I think so many people will almost censor themselves out of default because they think it's not perfect enough or they don't do it enough. And they're like, well, then I just won't do it at all. And I think that's such a shame because there's so many brilliant entrepreneurs. I mean, I see you all at the events too. And we mix and mingle in these rooms and we see people doing incredible things. And I think being able to share more of that process amongst each other helps all of us grow faster. So,
yeah,
I
agree. So you're one of those unique roles where you're helping a ton of people, but you're also very much a founder struggling your way through this thing as well. What's one resource or kind of touchstone you find yourself coming back to time and time again? Could be a book, could be a podcast, could be something you just do as a human that you have to do consistently to survive. Is there something you would recommend for other startup founders out there?
That's so funny you should ask that, but because I just got back from a keynote that I got booked to deliver at the very top of the year at this retreat. And I've had this framework going on my community since, I don't know, about this time last year. And it's called You Don't Need Another Business Book. I did a whole summer challenge and I got sponsors to give us prizes. So it's like summer reading at your library because I'm a librarian by trade. So I was like, let's do summer reading in the community. And the one rule was you couldn't read any business books. So we had a lot of fiction. We had a few memoirs and history too, but mostly fiction. And so I'm a really big proponent of reading fiction because I think sometimes we get so tied up in what the thought leadership community is doing. And then pretty soon you forget your own voice and your own thoughts. And that comes from just relaxing and like appreciating what all these people are putting out, but not repeating their words over and over again, but finding your own again. And so I'm a big proponent of people consuming fiction, TV shows, movies, and having fun and finding that feeling again because it reinvigorates whatever it is that you do.
Mary, you've been incredibly helpful with your insights and carving out time to share those with us. What can we, the listening folks, be doing to help you in your pursuits?
Well, you can subscribe to my weekly newsletter. I call it the Production Oracle. And that link is on my website, and I'll also give it to you. I also am on YouTube. So I'm about to put out a whole bunch of fresh new content for the year, which is exciting. A lot of behind the scenes things in the studio. People have been asking for it, and I finally have the time because I'm not assembling furniture anymore. It's amazing.
Do you have a startup story to tell? I would love to hear from you.